Hello everyone, this is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth TV. Holding our police accountable for their actions and for their conduct is one of the most important ways that we as a society can maintain our freedoms under this encroaching tyrannical police state. In 1990, here in Toronto, under the Ontario Police Service Act, we saw the creation of the Special Investigations Unit, which had the task of investigating situations involving serious injury or death involving the police. The problem with the SIU is that they would employ the police to investigate themselves. In fact, from 1996 to 2006, of the 1,905 cases that were investigated, only 38 of those resulted in any charges being laid. When Brian Law of Press for Truth was arrested during the G20 summit, he put in his complaint with the OIPRD.
I put in my complaint with the Office of the Independent Police Review Director about 2 days or 3 days after my actual arrest, an altercation with the police that happened at Cherry Beach. After 18 months of waiting, I finally got a final report from them right here, and the report basically exonerates the police of any wrongdoing. Not only that, but their findings contradict their own reports from one page to the next. There's interviews with 4 separate officers who all give a different account than what I gave, so there's in total 5 different accounts of what actually transpired. They didn't accept my footage that I submitted, that everyone saw online. I submitted the raw footage to them. They said it was heavily edited because I turned the camera on and off. That constitutes heavy editing. They also contradict their own e-reports, which were done in the police car immediately after I was arrested and searched. Their interviews contradict their own e-reports, you know, saying that on the e-report that I was searched, and then their interviews claimed that I wasn't searched. 2 of the officers claimed that I wasn't searched at all. 1 officer claimed that I was searched, but they weren't sure which officer it was. And the last officer claimed that I was searched, but I was never asked to show the contents of my bag. So 4 separate stories from 4 different officers. They determined that, you know, there can be no conclusive way to determine that the officers committed misconduct. Therefore, they had every legal right to search me and stop me on the street that day. So it really damages the credibility of the Office of the Independent Police Review Director when they exonerate police from searching you, even when you have video evidence that shows that there was no reason for that search to happen, that you were in public areas filming. So that's basically what happened with my case. I had to wait 1.5 years to find that out, and I wasn't even allowed to get access to my own records through the Access to Information Act.
During the G20 summit in Toronto, many of us witnessed the reckless and thuggish behavior from the police. And in regards to the SIU, the Ontario Ombudsman Andre Marin stated that there is no doubt that there is a police bias in their approach to investigations.
We did offer the chief 2 opportunities. I believe the letter's been distributed to you on August 5th. We wanted, first of all, the officers who were shown in various photos and video footage to come forward and explain what their understanding was of this regulation that was passed. And that was refused. The chief refused us access to those officers. And then again, subsequently on August 26th, we asked the chief to interview him because we wanted to know what his understanding was of this regulation and what instructions he passed on to the force, the Toronto Police Service. And again, we refused cooperation.
Much of their thuggish behavior was captured on film when people like Adam Nobody were violently attacked. I interviewed Adam Nobody last week to talk about his case with the SIU and the OIPRD.
I turn around, I see this line of police officers and they're coming, so I start walking away, and then I look back and I'm just like, I see a cop pointing like him, so I'm like, whoa, and I kind of get startled and I start running away. Then I didn't get much of a chance to run away. Cop grabs me, jumps on my back, we fall to the ground. I have all those cops on me like in the video, and that's when that happened, just that beating happening. So then 31 hours in jail in the Eastern Detention Cell, broken nose, broken cheekbone, 3 days I was in the hospital.
Why don't you bring us up to what's going on now, because I believe there was 5 officers who were recently named who were involved.
OIPRD had named them, and they can't charge. They cannot press charges. They can send it to review to the police board to discipline them, or just like dock a day's pay or some disciplinary method. But what's happening now is that the police board is saying that the investigation took too long, so it's void. That they don't have to do anything. They have to give it to the chief of police, and he could decide whether to do something with it or not. But because you have 6 months to file after the incident, and it's a year and a half. But the reason, again, the investigation took so long is because there was absolutely no cooperation from the police department. So it's like they waited out the clock on it. And it's not like their superiors, the chief and all them, it's not like they pressured them to actively cooperate, and that's why the investigations took so long. And that's just the OIPRD. With the SIU, it was completely inconclusive. They got one officer, but there's still all those other officers. You know what I mean? And when they finally closed the case the last time, they didn't say no officer committed a crime against me. They said no identifiable officer committed a crime against me. Meaning that although officers did commit crimes, there's no way to say who they are because they won't rat each other out or admit to doing it themselves. If the SIU wants to interview a police officer, the officer can say, no, I decline to be interviewed. And once that happens, case closed. All right, and that's what happened with all those officers. They asked them to be interviewed, and they all declined it, which they have the right to do, which is ridiculous if you ask me. And because that happened, the SIU, who has the power to charge the police officers, closed their case. And now the OIPRD they did their own investigation, and they found the names of these officers because they have the power to look through their notebooks to interview them, but they don't have the power to press charges. One of the officers that was named in my suit, they're doing a coroner's inquest right now on Junior Mannon, who he was an 18-year-old kid who was arrested 7 weeks prior to the G20, and during his arrest, he was suffocated to death. He's dead. One of those officers is one of the officers named in this report for beating me up on video.
So an officer who was involved with beating you up was also involved with another case where somebody died?
Was being investigated at the time he was serving at the G20. The police officers, they protect each other first, and then they ask questions. You know what I mean? That's the same thing with Blair saying I was a violent armed defender attacking the police. He came out, defended his guys first, and then later asked, okay. Then it was proven that it wasn't true, so he had to retract his statement. You know, but they're in a system of protection, and the SIU, although they try, but with the powers they're given, they can't do anything.
In the lead up to the G20 summit, the police began infiltrating and monitoring various activist groups who were planning on attending the summit. Officer Travis Wilkes of Guelph, Ontario had begun spying on activists in Guelph as early as September of 2008. Soon after that, the Southern Ontario Anarchist Resistance Group was infiltrated by two undercover officers going by the names of Brenda Doherty and Khalid Mohammed. By early 2010, we saw the formation of the Joint Intelligence Group, which included the OPP, the RCMP, CSIS, and local police from the Greater Toronto Area. They knew exactly what was going to happen. In fact, I even put out a video 1 month before the summit pointing out exactly where and when the attacks would happen and who would be involved. So now we are currently down in Toronto's financial district. This is the heart of the financial district here in the city. So we thought it was important to come here to show you what you can expect in 2 months from now in this area. As many of you know, there is a group out there called the Black Bloc who show up to these protests dressed in black. They often have rocks and they'll pick up things and try to smash banks. Despite this info, the Joint Intelligence Group continued with their plan. And on the morning of June 26th, the police raided the homes of the group, the Southern Ontario Anarchist Resistance. Their doors were kicked in and guns were drawn as the police arrested Leah Henderson, Mandy Hiscox, Peter Hopperton, and Alex Hundred. I interviewed Alex Hunter during his court appearance to get his first-hand account of the situation.
Police came in and broke into my home at 4 in the morning. It was the Gangs and Guns unit with, guns drawn and plainclothes officers with just their bulletproof vests and a bunch of guns pointed at our heads. The conspiracy I'm charged in is alleged to be responsible for everything that happened on the streets on Saturday, which is, it's kind of preposterous to allege some kind of anarchist hierarchy. All this criminalization and the crackdown on dissent and the attacks on social movements is nothing new. And I think it's really important for people to continue the work of challenging the system that targets people for marginalization and oppression and takes away from people's ability to build strong communities and to build a better world, and that is the most important thing for people to do moving forward, is to continue challenging and to continue building our movements and building linkages between the various struggles that we're all involved in.
With nearly $1 billion spent on security and 17 undercover police officers infiltrating activist groups years before the summit, we are left with the question: was this operation a massive failure, or was it a complete success? To learn more about everything that happened at the G20 summit, please watch our film Into the Fire. Share it with your friends and with your family members. Let's hold our police accountable and continue the push for a full federal public inquiry.